Yeah. All right. Look, I hate showing this part of the whole thing. So just because my workspace out here is an abomination and I hate it, but I think it's important to let you know the reality of some of this stuff and also like where I'm specifically at. So you look aside from just the horror show of horrors over here with like half fenders and God knows what. But the gravel bike is over here in my stand, which is a chunk of pipe hanging off the side of some railing. Anyway, and you'll notice it's been decapitated. The stem is out, and that right there is that new Chris King new to me, Chris King headset that has been installed top bottom. Races on, everything is happy. However, this is a grip nut headset. And if you've not played with one of these before, you cannot put spacers between the top cap here and the lock nut here. So normally I would put a spacer in here, tighten the sucker down, and good to go. But in this case, you can't do that. This guy has a lip at the top, so it will not thread past the top of the fork. And so I need to remove from the fork essentially the amount of gap between this top cap and lock nut here. I need to cut that off the steer tube of the fork essentially. And then I'll be able to thread this guy on, snug the whole thing up, and be good to go. Needless to say, I am not looking forward. I generally don't look forward to doing permanent modifications on bikes that I own. I like reversible things just as a matter of practicality. And I don't have some of the tools I would love to have to be able to do this. I mean, obviously I have a hacksaw, and obviously I have some degree of knowledge about stuff, but yeah, I hate doing stuff like this. So I was sort of like working up the urge to do it. In the process, I had like you should never wrench on a bike when you're like hungry or hot or tired or whatever, if you can help it at all. Well, yeah. I had to get my stem out, which was fine, except the wedge bolt at the bottom would not bloody come out. And in the process of undoing it and getting it to come out, I maybe have made a hash out of the part. So, good news is I had a perfectly cromulent replacement to that wedge bolt. So that is now installed on the stem and we're back in business. Still, I feel badly about it. And the other thing I was waiting for was this. This is, here, let me flip you around so you can actually see what we're talking about here. This right here is a Paul Funky Monkey, and this is basically, they make them in a bunch of different versions, but this is basically, in this particular case, 7/8 of an inch clamp here with a single bolt, and then it's a brake hanger here. Because of the headset that I'm going with on this guy here, I can't put a front brake hanger inside the stack of the headset. This won't go in this. So I needed a way to get this functionality in the setup. And the way you do that is with a rig like this. I am bummed out with it because it's a perfectly lovely bit of kit. But there are two things. One, it costs a minor fortune for what it is, and that bums me out. It's not that I don't think it's a quality piece of machining or it's well thought out or any of the rest. Also, it's got to be super duper duper low production. So at some level, I'm just thankful that they still make the thing. But it's expensive. And second, this is a regular barrel adjuster, but it's plastic right here. The screw is obviously metal, but this is not one of those cool Paul brake lever barrel adjusters that they make. No, just a regular generic plastic one. So on that. Anyway, it's going to do the job. What I need to do here is get the fork cut down, get the whole thing stuffed back together, and then I should be on my way, presuming all the housing lengths still work. It's possible that they won't. The other thing I found when digging around was this guy. See that? That is a Salsa seat collar, right? And what I like about these, by the way, is that this aluminum seat collar is not threaded for this bolt. This stainless insert is threaded. So in theory, if you blow the threads up, first of all, you're a lot less likely to strip it out in the first place. And if you blow the threads up, you can get another insert and be on your way and be happy. I found this on this frame that I had hanging on the wall that I needed something else from for this. And I might see, I don't know if the diameters are correct, but I might see if I can get those to go on the mountain bike, because the seat color that came with that bike is anemic, and I'd like a different one that isn't. This would fit the bill, but only if the diameter of it works. So I'll have to see how that's going to go. The last thing I did over here, I'm going to show you this. I went out for a mountain bike ride the other day. Yeah, this is, by the way, this is the reality of using a vintage mountain bike as a gravel bike, is you're still dealing with a vintage bike and in all probability like some vintage parts. And they require a different, let's say it really nicely, a different degree of upkeep than modern parts. That is to say, if you bought a fresh, out-the-box 12-speed drivetrain and put it on that bike, it would be fine, right? But I'm running this hodgepodge of 7-speed, 8-speed, 9-speed, 10-speed stuff on there, and getting it all to work together is more fidgety, and keeping it maintained is more fidgety, because like the wheels that are, I mean, the bike is 25 years old. The wheels that are on the bike are, you know, probably almost 20 years old at this point. And so there's just like, you know, bearings and lubrication and, you know, play to be dealt with and all of that. So like this bike, and plus, you know, I ride them a lot. If you look at this hub on this bike, it's all coated and gross. And the reason for that is these wheels, as they age, the spoke head, they're straight pull spokes, and the spoke head that's in the hub flange can move and sort of, it pings if you put it under very high torque. And the only solution I have for that, the only solution I've come across, and the only solution that I have for that is to lubricate the end of the spoke where it goes into the hub, which of course makes dust stick to everything. So it's just like this ongoing thing. Anyway, not the point. It's hot here. It was hot yesterday. I had to go for a mountain bike ride because the gravel bike's down. So I took out the mountain bike, but the mountain bike only has space for one water bottle cage on it because and also because on the seat tube with droppers, you can't put threaded insert, whatever. Anyway, your boy ain't getting stopped. Look at that. Second water bottle cage on there. So what you do, if you need to do this, if you need to like wing ding a second water bottle cage onto a bike, this guy's bolted on totally normal. This guy back here, what you do is you get one of these cages that has the two tabs here and here that will sit flat on the frame. And I got a piece of aluminum bar stock that goes in there, and then I clamp that bar stock with some pipe clamps onto the seat tube, and this sucker is on there good and tight and proper. You probably only need two pipe clamps to do it, and you do need a cage that has like kind of like this. It's got like a separate piece and a separate piece here. If you get one of those cages that's got the piece here, this jam won't work as nicely. So you I get used one of these little Blackburn joints for when I do this. But this gets me a second water bottle, not a huge one, but a second water bottle on this frame. And that means I don't have to carry a Camelback in the heat or a water bottle on my hip pack, which I hate, or anything like that. So if you're in a dilly of a pickle, and there's nothing that stops you, by the way, from doing this to the underside of a down tube, or like you could bolt one anywhere you'd like using basically this technique. So it ain't the prettiest thing because you got a bunch of pipe clamps stuck up to your frame and whatever, and that's not, but it is cromulent and it is solid and it will do. I tend to take that stuff off when I'm not actively using it, but since we're getting into the hot part of summer, I'm gonna leave it on for a while. Next bike, I'm hoping to get at least 2 and maybe 3 with a double down tube setup. I'm hoping to get at least 2, but maybe 3 full-size water bottles inside the main frame so that I don't have to ride with a Camelback most of the time, except on like the very hottest of days when I'm going out or something like that. And that would be nice. It's cooler, it's lighter, it's nice, it's compact, and blah, 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 blah.